Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulonding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Sarakunda. This is Star TV News. With me, Maimunaju Fadera. In the headlines tonight, GPU addresses National Assembly for denying journalists access to cover important sittings. CRC distributes contents of translated 20 chapters of draft constitution nationwide. United States Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control has been probing into the role of Zainab Jammeh in practice believed to have been carried out in the U.S. Labet Jala receives Stockholm Region Award. We do not see any sign indicating the opening of the tourism season as it used to be, Baba Sise points out. On the international scene, Biden in Florida, Latino vote courted in key swing states. Pakistan religious kidnappings, PM calls for end of practice. West Africa bloc fails to reach agreement with Mali military. Well, those were the headlines. And now the news in details. The Gambia Press Union on Wednesday addressed the National Assembly for denying journalists entry to cover an important sitting on the draft constitution that was brought before the Assembly for a first reading. Well, I'm on Maria Madam reports.
Private media houses were denied entry into the National Assembly on Monday as journalists arrived at the Parliament to cover the first reading of the bill that seeks to repeal the 1997 Constitution and promulgate the 2020 Constitution. This discriminatory decision towards journalists was taken by the Office of the Clerk due to the COVID-19 restrictions. But the question everyone is asking right now is, why cherry-pick only 3 media houses and deny others entry? And why were journalists not informed prior the day to avoid the unexpected drama? However, the Gambia Press Union during a press conference today said that discriminating journalists is uncalled for and the union is doing everything possible to put a stop to such an act. The union also made it clear that GPU was never consulted about the decision of the National Assembly on denying journalists from covering such an important sitting. Mustafa is the head of ethics of the GPU and he had this to say.
If members are discriminated, I'm going to use the word discrimination here, because what I feel is Parliament is a legislative arm of the government. It's supreme. It's a supreme legislative arm of the government that should prohibit discrimination. The reason why I mentioned discrimination is we know that there were 2 or 3 media houses that were allowed, while others were not allowed. Having said that, I'm going to make clear that we all know that the state media, of course, is the custodian, should be the custodian of all audio and audio visual of public events in any government. So I also have to underline that. But apart from the state media, we also understand that some media were allowed. And this decision was unilateral. We were not involved. You would have thought that if it is to protect our members from COVID-19, which we already know that our members are taking precautions, and our members have been trained on how to protect themselves, so we will appreciate it, but not in this way. We will appreciate Parliament to help us in protecting our members from COVID-19, but not like this. There's a lot that Parliament can do for the Gambia president, for journalists in this country, and we all know that. There are laws that are protecting us from doing what we are supposed to do, and we would want Parliament to work on that first. There are laws that we want that would enhance our work as journalists. So we are calling on the Parliament to work on those things first before saying that they were protecting us from the coronavirus. That is why they are protecting our members. So, but the most important thing here for you to know, to take note of, is the GPU is not part and parcel of this decision. Now, we believe that in any civilized democracy, the press and the legislature works together to improve, to enhance, to strengthen democracy. So if Parliament is doing this to the press, then that means this is a lost opportunity for the press and Parliament to come together so that we will ensure that sanity prevails in the governance structure of this country.
Sirif Bojang Jr., GPU president, said that the union has sent a letter to the assembly to reconsider their decision or at least allow all cameramen or women to cover the sittings henceforth. The union is waiting on the assembly to respond to their request. Bojang further explained the criteria the assembly put in place to allow only 3 media houses to cover the sitting.
The information that I know and that I heard officially from the Parliament through the Director of Communication, Mr. Gibai Rujani, is that iAfrica is paid, contracted, so it's money involved. QTV, they call. He said they called QTV at the last minute. I don't know when is the last minute, but he said they called QTV at the last and invited them. They called GRTS and invited them.
Bojang noted that media houses that were allowed to cover the sitting should not answer any question regarding the issue, as they were not at fault. When asked about media houses boycotting covering the National Assembly sittings, he had this to say.
It's not the role of the GPU to tell any journalist, any media organization, boycott this or boycott that. But then if, I know a lot of people called us, all of us, GPU, they call us individually, to run the idea of what about we boycott. Like I said, all the media owners and media institutions, you have a marriage affair with the GPU by the virtue of the fact that the bulk of your members, the crop of your members are GPU members, or your staff are GPU members. If you decide to boycott Parliament or boycott anything, the GPU will stand shoulder to shoulder with you, the GPU will support you, and the GPU will show solidarity with you for that to show the message. But then the idea to say boycott and stuff should come from the media owners. So the media owners, now it's up to them to decide what they want to do. We know one thing is clear, we are all concerned about this, what happened. We didn't want this, we don't want this.
The Gambia Press Union is calling on the National Assembly to reconsider its decision. The Gambia Press Union is an organization representing the interests and welfare of journalists in the Gambia. The union also aims to promote media freedom and professionalism. Maria Madam, reporting for Star TV News.
The Constitutional Review Commission, CRC, has successfully completed a nationwide distribution of audio-visual format of the draft constitution to regional authorities and community radios. The 4-day exercise started last month and ended early this month. Dadu Cham has more.
The purpose of the translation of the draft constitution is a fulfillment of the promise that the CRC made to Gambians during the public consultations to have the draft constitution translated into the local languages, to enhance citizens' understanding and awareness of the contents of the draft constitution. Delivering on this promise, the Commission has of recent translated the contents of 20 chapters of the draft constitution into the following languages: Mandinka, Fula, Wolof, Jola, Manjago, Seril, Sarahule, Aku, and Gambian Sign Language for the hard of hearing. There is also a Braille and a Gambian Sign Language version of the draft constitution for the visually impaired and the hard of hearing. The contents of the translated chapters of the draft constitution in audiovisual format contained in flash drives was distributed to the general populace through their regional authorities and information dissemination outlets such as governors, offices, chiefs, area councils, and community radios. The CRC therefore encourages the public to access and listen to these translated versions of the draft constitution to deepen their understanding of its contents. The draft constitution, in all manner and shape, is people-centered, and this is made possible by the overwhelming participation and involvement of Gambians from all walks of life during the consultation process. Furthermore, the Commission has also distributed copies of the draft constitution to senior secondary schools across the country. As integral stakeholders in developing the draft constitution, the senior secondary schools have been provided with copies of the draft constitution to enable them to learn and strengthen their understanding on the constitutional matters contained in and to enhance their ownership of the document. Gambians hail the CRC for not only fulfilling its promise, but also providing the draft constitution in their mother tongue. Recipients of the documents commended the CRC for a job well done, saying it will have a far-reaching impact on the people in terms of dispelling misinformations and misrepresentations of facts about the contents of the draft constitution. The CRC enjoins the Gambian public to access this translated audio recordings of the draft constitution in 8 different languages to reinforce their understanding of its provisions. It is only through this way that we can collectively protect and inform on the draft constitution in its pristine form. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Cham.
The United States Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control has announced on Monday that it has designated and punished Zainab Suma Yahya Jammeh, the wife of a former Gambian president and a UK-based company called Navah Limited, as active supporters to persons previously designated for their uncorrupt behavior. Dado Cham tells us more.
This development is a game changer, as it means that the U.S. Treasury considers that the former Gambian First Lady aided and abetted the commission of corruption-related crimes. This implies that the Treasury Department will continue digging further on the potential shadow ties Zainab might have developed to benefit herself and the designated corrupt actors. She is technically perceived to be the accomplice in invoking the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. To categorize Zainab, the U.S. government believes that she is of the same kind of perpetrators of serious human rights abuses and corruptions like her husband, former President Yahya Jammeh. The Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act that had been used to slap Zainab targets perpetrators of serious human rights abuses and corruption in the world. This also means that very soon the U.S. Justice Department will build a legal case to hold Zainab accountable as her designated corrupt accomplices. As a result, the U.S. Treasury says all property and interest in property of the Zainab as a person and entity, and any entities that are owned directly or indirectly 50% or more by former Gambian First Lady individually or with other blocked persons that are in the United States or in the possession or control of U.S. persons are blocked and must be reported to OFAC unless authorized by a general or specific license issued by OFAC or otherwise exempt. OFAC's regulations generally prohibit all transaction by U.S. persons or within or transiting the United States that involves any property or interest in a property of a designated or otherwise blocked persons. The prohibitions include the making of any contribution or provision of funds, goods, or services by, to, or for the benefits of any blocked person on the receipt of any contribution or provision of funds, goods, or services from any such person. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Cham.
Stockholm-based Gambian activist Lavet Jallo has received the prestigious Stockholm Regents Award Against Xenophobia and Racism 2020. The prize is awarded to an association, person, institution, or similar organizations that operate within Stockholm County and which in a committed way of promoting coexistence between different cultures in society. Binta Koli reports.
The prize was awarded during the Regional Council on Tuesday, 15 September 2020, and this year, Lavet Jallo was among the awardees for her organization Action for Humanity. She was chosen for her great commitment to disseminating information and knowledge regarding racism an oppression that highlights the structures that exist in society nationally and internationally. Lovett, through her organization Action for Humanity, lectures and trains employees at companies and organizations on how their actions, consciously and unconsciously, can perpetuate and even intensify racism and xenophobia. She embarked on a school tour where she talks to young people about the importance of understanding and tolerance. Lovett also secured the return of 38 Gambian women who were stranded in Lebanon for over 9 months after the Gambia government failed to repatriate them. She has been praised by many Gambians for her tremendous effort in helping humanity. Lovett Jallow inspires and raises awareness to both youth and old, from north to south in Sweden and beyond. To draw attention to her important work, the jury decided to award Lovett and her organization. For Star TV News, I am Binta Kuli.
The president of the Senegambia Tourist Drivers Association made that remark in an interview with Star TV on Tuesday at the Senegambia Tourist Drivers Car Park. However, all the tourism-affiliated entities anticipate for a better tourism season as Tourism Minister announced the opening of the season. Well, Modi Albaji has the rest of the story.
Okay. This is the country's NAP center when it comes to tourism, Senegambia. We will go in, talk to the stakeholders such as the Drivers Association, the hotel owners, restaurateurs, and the craft market vendors to assess their level of preparation when it comes to this year's tourism industry season. The president of the Tourist Drivers Association, Baba Sise, stressed that he had been working at the tourism industry since 1989. But the signs they used to see when the tourism season is about to open are not visible this year.
1989,
even when I travel and return, this is the same place I earn my living. And when the tourist season was about to open, we used to see agents coming in and out of the hotels. Hotels being renovated, and even the international media officials were sighted here, but such are not visible this year.
Lamin Jai, a driver, also expressed similar sentiments. Modu Balde runs the winery, tapas and restaurant. We met him busy renovating his place, which was geared towards the tourism season. Mr. Balde is enthusiastic to see more tourists this year and a fruitful season. However, Balde added that he has not gotten any support from the government.
Definitely, my restaurant here, the winery, we did not benefit from that fund. But anyway, I'm hearing some of my colleagues around here, Senegambia, the other restaurants, they said that some of them they have received, but some of them they have not received. It's like the things is going in one way.
The coronavirus pandemic did not only affect the hotels and restaurants in the Gambia, but also the craft market. We will go in there and talk to the vendors to assess their perspective regarding the closure and the opening of the new tourism season. The pandemic has ceased services at the craft market due to government's policy to mitigate the spread of the deadly disease. Sambaso is a vendor. He said that they will wait and see what will be the outcome of the season before they will fully prepare for the season. Mr. Sow thanked the UNDP for coming to their aid by giving a bailout support of $50 to those working in the tourism industry. Another vendor by the name Sarata Sisoko is not happy with the tariff introduced at the airport, and she had this to say.
The impact tourism has on the Gambian economy cannot be overemphasized because most of the youths are not involved in illegal acts due to tourism, which is providing them the avenue to earn their living. But if the aviation authorities are to add an additional levy of $40 to tourists that are coming in and out of this country, that will seriously be a hurdle to many tourists, and that will not be favorable to us after sitting for a complete 6 months without working.
Tourism is of vital importance to the Gambia, second to agriculture, in its place in the economy. It is a major source of foreign exchange, comprised of a significant proportion of the country's GDP, and it also creates over 16,000 jobs for Gambians, especially young people. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
Well, those were the local stories. We'll be back with the international news after the short commercial break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gosh Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gosh Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gosh on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gosh Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.goshglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh.
Welcome back after that short commercial break, and we now look at the news beyond our borders. Biden in Florida, Latino vote courted in key swing state. Former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden made his first campaign trip to Florida as the Democratic presidential nominee on Tuesday, with an urgent mission to boost support among Hispanic voters who could decide the election in the Sunshine States. Well, Al Jazeera's Andy Kalacha reports from Miami, U.S.
If Joe Biden wants to win in November's presidential election, he'll need the majority of Floridians to back him, including this state's crucial Latino voters. The former vice president knows there's a lack of enthusiasm and deep mistrust of what the Republican Party calls his socialist agenda. This then is a chance for Biden to convince Hispanic voters, who make up 20% of Florida's electorate, that he's their man.
Donald Trump has failed the Hispanic community time and time again, and that's not a secret. Whether it's in his heinous act of separating children from their families at our border, or his repeated attacks on Dreamers, or his neglect of the people of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, or his repeated failure to make sure essential workers have the personal protective equipment they need. I'm going to be good to go down as one of the most progressive presidents in American history.
Republican attack ads have been hitting home in this battleground state. Many link Biden's politics to nations Latinos fled, a message that resonates with conservative voters fearful his administration will lean too far to the left. The Biden campaign's hitting back, spending millions targeting voters with Spanish-language ads. Democratic Party organizers say the Republican Party is playing with people's emotions.
And that is something that psychologically works very well on people. When you tap into their fear, reasoning goes out the door.
President Trump launched his Latinos for Trump campaign last year, and he's continued to court Hispanic voters across the country. Despite the fact that Latinos historically vote Democratic, polls in Florida show a tight race between the two candidates.
But many Hispanic Americans came here to pursue the American dream, right? We all want the American, I want the American dream, we all want the American dream. This is, if you look at what they're asking for, it's like the American nightmare.
Many in the Democratic Party in Florida have reportedly been urging Joe Biden to pay more attention to the Latino vote for months. Hillary Clinton narrowly lost to President Trump here in 2016, but beat the president in support from Latinos by a large margin. It's long been said that all roads to the White House go through Florida. Both candidates are keenly aware of the importance of this state and its Latino voters. In this presidential election, Latino voters may be the hardest fought over, and ultimately the most crucial. Andy Gallagher, Al Jazeera, Miami, Florida.
Pakistan religious kidnapping PM calls for an end of practice. More than 1,000 girls in Pakistan are kidnapped every year, forced to marry and convert to Islam. Prime Minister Imran Khan says the practice must stop, and a parliamentary committee wants a law to stamp it out. While Al Jazeera's Charles Strafford reports.
Diali Bahi and her family are Pakistani Hindus. They, like generations of Hindus long before the partition of India in 1947, have lived in the southern province of Sindh all their lives. Diali says on September the 10th, 3 armed men forced their way into her home and kidnapped her 15-year-old daughter.
I don't know what they've done to her, if she's alive or not. I'm worried about her life.
Police suspect Pasha, who is 3 years under the legal age of marriage in Pakistan, has been forced to convert to Islam and marry a Muslim man. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan says more than 1,000 non-Muslim girls are forced to convert to Islam every year. There's been widespread outrage at the practice among Muslims and non-Muslims in Pakistan. Members of the religious minority communities have protested, demanding better protection of their rights. Hindus and Christians make up around 5% of Pakistan's 220 million Muslim-majority population. The government is helping to renovate around 400 Hindu temples, places of worship often neglected since the partition of India more than 70 years ago. Prime Minister Imran Khan has been praised for a recent program that gives Indian Sikhs visa-free access to visit a shrine close to the border. Evidence, he says, of Pakistan's commitment to ensuring freedom of worship. He says the kidnapping and forced conversions to Islam have to stop.
How can you forcefully convert someone to Islam or force them into marriage either by threatening them or at gunpoint, as we have heard incidents like these in Sindh? All these practices are totally un-Islamic.
Attempts at changing the law remain a challenge. In 2016, the Regional Sindh Assembly tried to pass a bill banning under-18s from converting to another religion. But some Muslim religious parties objected to the age limit. They threatened to besiege the Assembly if the governor approved the bill, which he then refused to sign into law. A revised version of the bill was signed into law in 2019, but religious parties protested again. A parliamentary committee on minorities and forced conversions wants to eventually make the law applicable across all of Pakistan.
Religious minorities struggled through the independence of Pakistan with our Muslim brothers and sisters, but certain loopholes were left in the constitution, which are used by certain groups against them. We are fully aware, and all the parliamentarians from all parties are on one page, and will soon constitute a law against the brutal crimes of forced conversions and marriage.
Police believe a statement posted online of Pasha saying she was not kidnapped but willingly converted to Islam and married a Muslim man was forced. They say kidnappers often threaten victims into making similar claims. Back at Pasha's home, her family is distraught. Diali says she can't live without her daughter and she just wants her back. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera.
West African mediators have reportedly agreed to allow 18 months for Mali's military coup leaders to hand over power to a civilian government. Mali's military government regional heads of state as the deadline imposed by the bloc came to an end. Well, Al Jazeera's Nicholas Haig reports.
Ghana's president greeting Mali's new strongman, Colonel Assimi Goïta, and addressing Mali's coup leader as Mr. President. No firm handshakes, but a warm welcome. Goïta is on his first foreign visit, meeting West African heads of states who have imposed sanctions on the country after he ousted President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta from power 3 weeks ago in a bloodless coup.
Today is supposed to be the day when the military junta in Mali is to put in place a government which should respond to the criteria we set out at our last summit of 28th August 2020. That has not been done. The circumstances of life in Mali today require that closure be brought to the matter now.
West African leaders condemned the coup, shutting its borders and stopping financial transactions with the landlocked country. Following the meeting, they agreed to an 18-month transition to full civilian rule and the lifting of sanctions if a full transition team is put together in matters of days, not months. On stage this weekend, the military junta presented their roadmap and charter where the military remains largely in power to civil society actors, politicians and religious leaders. The junta took the applause as a sign of their support. However, the influential M5 opposition movement disavowed Mali's military leadership and their methods.
We denounce the intimidation and anti-democratic methods dating from another time, as well as the power grabbing by the military leadership that goes against the aspiration for change.
In July, the UN condemned Mali's military's extrajudicial killings of civilians they are meant to protect. They, along 4,000 French and European troops, are fighting armed groups in northern and central Mali. Caught in the fighting are over 6 million Malians facing an unprecedented humanitarian crisis.
Counter-terrorism measures make it difficult for humanitarian organizations to have a engagement with local populations and whoever is there to represent them.
This has become the challenge for Mali's new leadership, attempting to embody the aspirations of the Malian people and gain legitimacy both at home and abroad. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera.
Well, before we end the news, a quick recap of our main headlines. GPU addresses National Assembly for denying journalists access to cover important sittings. CRC distributes contents of translated 20 chapters of draft constitution nationwide. United States Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control has been probing into the role of Zainab Jammeh in practice believed to have been carried out in the US. Lovett Jallow receives Stockholm Region Award. We do not see any sign indicating the opening of the tourism season as it used to be, Baba Sise points out. On the international scene, Biden in Florida, Latino vote courted in key swing states. Pakistan religious kidnappings, PM calls for end of practice. West Africa bloc fails to reach agreement with Mali military. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Do enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful night.